went to an election promising that it would make aged care better, starting with a promise that they would make aged care higher quality and more affordable. Their plan to do that consists first of requiring all aged care facilities to have a registered nurse on staff 24/7, with the rule to kick in on the 1st of July this year. Staffing shortages and ineffective workarounds mean that, even in Minister Annika Wells's view, that just isn't going to happen.
I think that it's going to take a while. I've said it's going to take a while for this to wash through the system. I accept that we are thousands short, but I'm just going to keep my shoulder to the wheel and keep pulling all the levers until we get there. This isn't a 1 July overrun. The boat doesn't leave the harbour on 1 July and that's it, and everyone left on the pontoon is done for. I'll keep trying on the 2nd of July and every day after that until we get it done.
It's another broken promise. Going into the last election, Labor were also asked if they would, if elected, impose an aged care levy. Mr Albanese's answer was, "We are not proposing a levy." Well, a year on, Labor seems to be priming Australians for another broken promise, as it asks the Aged Care Task Force to consider one. And perhaps worse, we are a year into a new government with a Minister for Aged Care with so little idea of what to do that she is setting up a task force to consider what to do to make the sector work, with 6 months for them to come up with an answer. Well, there are no easy answers. And given Mrs Wells has had a year to settle into the role and familiarise herself with it, it looks a lot like giving up that her big, bold action to improve quality and affordability consists of failing to implement 24/7 nurses and then asking a task force to sort out the rest. Ian Henschke is Chief Advocate for National Seniors Australia, and he joins me now to break down the issues. Ian, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Two of the Aged Care Royal Commissioners, in slightly different ways, recommended a 1% flat tax to be paid by Australians, much like the Medicare levy, to cover the cost of aged care. Labor had ruled that out before the last election, but is this referral to the task force an attempt to wriggle out of that commitment?
Well, I'm not sure whether it is or it isn't. The thing that I'm a bit concerned about is that this is going to become politicised, and I would remind you that Peter Dutton actually said in his budget reply, I want to work with the government to ensure that we have an aged care system that is sustainable, and I'm a person of my word. So I do hope this doesn't become a political football. And I do like the idea that Mr Dutton has said he wants a respectful, dignified, world-class aged care system. And he said to have that, it will be funded by residents or taxpayers. So he's struggling with it as well. I also found it very interesting that in the Aged Care Royal Commission, we had Mr Costello and Mr Keating both giving evidence. And Mr Costello said he found the whole system confusing. And he said, you've got to make it simple. Mr Keating said he would like to see a system, a bit like a HEX system, HEX debt, where you got the good quality aged care and then they could take that back as a loan. So I think there's a whole range of ways you could deal with it. But the one thing we need to do is recognise there are 5.8 million baby boomers. I think we've got millions of people coming through the system, in other words, and a lot of them will need care, and that care is dementia care, palliative care, end-of-life care, because people are going into their aged care homes now much, much later than they were. So I think there is a real need there to address it and do it in a depoliticised way. I mean, one of the recommendations that we put forward was have someone like the Productivity Commission look at it and say, look, this is the best way forward. And then we'd like to see both sides of Parliament or all sides of Parliament agree on it and then just simply put it in place. Otherwise, we don't want to see arguments go on for the next couple of years, because the Royal Commission finished almost 2 years ago.